everyone. This is Karen for Online Healing Community. Welcome to Creating Space. And today we're a bit early in our broadcast and we're going to talk about crossing borders and healing divisions. And our guest is joining us from Zurich, Switzerland. She's Angge Aninay Pacifico. She's a grandmother. She's a mother, a grandmother, a teacher, a social activist. She's a counselor turned peacemaker turned student of compassion. So, friends, please help me welcome Ate Angge. Hi, Ate Angge. Welcome to
Oh,
Creating Space.
magandang gabi po. Good evening, good morning. For me, it's good afternoon.
What time is it po in Zurich?
It's 12:02 at lunch.
Ay, sa lunchtime.
Sakto lunchtime. We're
Sakto lunchtime.
6 hours delayed. You're 6 hours early.
Thank you for joining us today for Creating Space, Ate Angge. We're
I
going to
love,
talk about
I really
crossing
love
borders
this.
and healing divisions.
Mhm.
When I was looking at, very interesting, Ate Angge, your name Aninay, the one used that you're using now is something connected to this topic, no, to crossing
Yes.
borders, healing
Mhm.
divisions. Can you tell us more po about your name now, Aninay?
Okay. Because I co-founded an organization called Binhi ng Kapayapaan. And two of my co-founders are the Datu and his wife from the Talaandig tribe in Bukidnon. And they have this religion called Universal Religion. So I've been with them for so many years since, I cannot remember anymore, 2000, 2002, something like that. So in 2013, I thought it was time that I asked to be baptized into the religion. Kasi sabi naman ni Dato Vic, can I talk Taglish? Better English, no?
That English is okay. Taglish is also okay. At Angge.
Okay. Because Dato Vic said, I do not have to leave my Christian religion. And I really like what they're preaching. It's like my core values of oneness, being one with everything. So I asked to be baptized. And then Dato Vic said, you don't need formation because you've been with us for so many years. Because I go to their community very often and I bring our organization there. We already had a youth camp there and also workshop. So he asked me for 8 words that describe myself. And I said, dialogue, solidarity, cooperation, bridge. I don't remember all of them. But the summary was oneness. So he actually went to their holy mountain, and I don't know how many days was reflecting. And then he said, okay, I have a name for you already. But I only found out on the day of my baptism. So after our youth camp, our peace camp, we do peace camps in Binhi ng Kapayapaan. The whole group went to the community to witness my baptism. And he announced that the name he was giving me was Aninay, which in the dialect actually means prayer. So for them, it seems oneness is equivalent to prayer. So that's the story of my name. By
That's
the way, as I said, I'm still Christian, but I
Opo.
embrace all religions now. I'm actually waiting for my Muslim friends to say yes. I'm asking for a ritual. I don't think I can be baptized into Islam because that means I have to leave my religion, Christianity, which I don't think I need to. So I thought to have a blessing to be like a sister of Islam. So right now, I would say oneness is my religion. And that's my name.
And that's what you're teaching us, Ate Angge, that
Yeah,
we're all
try to.
united. And when is the first time that you crossed borders? Can you
Okay.
share with
In my
us?
day sharing, I talked about the time when I was 12 years old. By the way, mukhang suki niyo ako last week and this week. No, I hope people will not get tired of my face. Anyway, I try to change my dress every time. Anyway, people don't worry. I will try to talk about something different each day. I talked about myself as a 12-year-old. I was raised in a middle class, very, very strictly Catholic family in Caloocan. And every time I had to go to the tricycle, I would pass by our street, which is just all middle class. But I would see a skinita. No? I would have a peek of a skinita. And I saw there were houses there. So I got curious. And so one time I dared to cross that street and enter that skinita. It was named Stutzenberg. That's a German city, actually. And I discovered that it was a community of squatters, very poor. Ano pa, a bit like um, they even have the canals really very dirty. So they were separate. They were like segregated. They were hidden from our community. And I got a bit disturbed about that. And I got concerned. So what I did, I kept visiting. I got to know some of the mothers. And then I asked, would it be okay if I invite your children to my home? So that I thought by just, at least they can get out of being hidden. No, they can be in a home in the mainstream. So my parents were a bit worried about that, but eventually my parents liked it. So I was teaching them catechism, and every Christmas we will have a Christmas party. So I did it for 3 to 4 years. The third year, my father even treated us to spaghetti, even got a photographer. He also got excited about it. But actually, my first experience of crossing the border when I was very young, to be honest, I really wanted to be a priest. Ingit na
A
ingit
priest?
ako. Ever.
Not a
Priest.
nun? Ate
No,
Angge,
a
priest
priest.
talaga.
Priest. Whenever we went to church, I just adored the time when the priest would raise the Blessed Sacrament. And I envied him so much because I felt he was very close to Jesus. He's holding the Bible. Because for some reason, I felt very close to Jesus. Kasi yung religion class ko said that Jesus could be my friend. My best religion teacher was Sister Mary Virgin. And then I took that seriously. I considered him my playmate, and I will talk to him, no? So I wanted to be near him. That's why I wanted to be a priest. Eh, hindi pala pwede. You cannot be a priest in the Catholic religion. So I was very disappointed. But to be honest, I hope you don't find this funny. My dream really was to be a saint. Not a saint to be glorified, to have a celebration. No, but just because I wanted to help Jesus. Kasi I saw the pictures of African children at that time, no? The TV was full of African children dying of hunger. And I felt the pain, no? I just felt one with them. And I would look at Jesus in the crucifix and say, oh, you must be very sad. You already died for us, and yet look at what people are doing. We're not helping each other. The children are dying. So I would tell him, when I will grow up, I will be a saint. And I will be on the clouds with you looking at the world, and I will help you make the world better. So actually, I took that seriously. That's why I became a social worker, a peacemaker, etc. But anyway, that was my first really experience of crossing borders, no? To being one with the children of Africa and be one with Jesus.
And
Yo,
you did make the world better.
I hope so, in my little way. Yeah,
Yeah.
through my family, through my work.
And
I,
last
I,
Thursday,
I realize I don't really have to sacrifice my happiness. Yun. Later na yun. That's another.
yeah, and last Thursday, during the workshop at Angge, you pointed out na naturally tayo, we have groups of people that we discriminate. And
Mhm.
even in our own body, there are parts of our own body that we don't like. But you also mentioned that each of us has a healing seed. Can you share with us who is your healing seed and how did she become instrumental in helping you remove your biases?
First of all, I hope you remember my story of the asshole. I won't tell it now so
Yeah.
that they get curious and they will listen to the recording of Thursday session. Okay. It's just that we treat some people as assholes. Okay. But like in the body, every part is important to the whole. So we have those kinds of people that we push away, even in our family, even in our circle. So one such people, when I was young, was the Muslims. Kasi uso nun yung huramentado, no? We would say we're afraid of the Muslims because they go amok, they get an axe and kill people. That was the view of Muslims. No, later I will share with you where this comes from. No, um, but my mother shared me a story that when they were, um, first year of their marriage, they lived in near Maria Cristina Falls, saan ba yun? Iligan, I think, or Lanao.
Mhm.
They were going to settle there. Ang ganda-ganda raw, the climate was perfect. But that was after liberation. And one time, because just after liberation, some Japanese were still around. So one time, my father was driving in his jeep, yung American jeep nung araw, yung open, no windows. And there was a Japanese truck, a Japanese driving a truck very hardly. Siguro he was afraid to be seen, or I don't know what was happening. So my father had a very, very serious injury. And he had to be brought to Manila because his wound was already developing gangrene. So you know what that means. He could have died. And at that time, the boat trip took about 3 days. So the boat daw, sabi ng mother ko, was full of Muslim women, with their malongs, the babies there and all that, no? And their food. And then um, she was helped by these Muslim women. They had some herbs. They helped take care. He was alone. She was alone with my father. Was very ill. So they helped him take care of my father, and he was brought to the Veterans Hospital. He got well. Without this Muslim woman's help, I would not be here, because at that time it was just the two of them. So they had my brother and then me. So yeah. So this story made me realize that some of the things we know about some people can be really healed with positive stories.
That's true. But how come that our wounds run deep? That we really have biases against many people?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say this is because of our history. As you know, we were colonized, di ba? First by the Spaniards, and then the Americans, and then the Japanese, and then, well, now we don't really know if we're really independent. So during the Spanish times, as you probably have learned in history, the conquistadores, no, the soldiers, that's commanders or the generals of the Spanish army who colonized us, whenever they were able to colonize a part of the Philippines, they were rewarded by saying, okay, you let your horse run for as far as you can, and that land will be yours. Okay? So that started this issue of the land being grabbed by the original owners, no? And then, of course, we knew the discrimination. The Spaniards were high, and then the mestizos, and then we were called Indios, the ordinary Filipino. So this already created a division and a sense of not being a real citizen of our country. And then there was the war versus the Moros, as you probably have also learned in history. The Spaniards took the Christians, Tagalog, because they first conquered Luzon, right? And so they baptized before even in Luzon, it was still Muslim or indigenous villages, right? So they baptized the Tagalogs, the northern Luzon, and people, and the Christians they brought to the south to fight the Muslims. They were the soldiers of the Spaniards. So of course the Christians killed Muslims and the Muslims killed Christians. So this started a generation of stories that the Muslims are bad, the Christians are bad. This caused a lot of mistrust and division. And of course, this was reinforced even after when we were already supposed to be a democracy. The politicians allowed their people to go to Mindanao, which was the land of milk and honey. It was called during the time of my parents, to get land for their own. And because the indigenous didn't have the title, they didn't know anything about this, they easily lost the land. So before we were majority indigenous, now we only have 1.7 indigenous in the Philippines. And they've lost their lands and their culture. And many of them had to be baptized because of fear. It's really
So
very, so this is why it's very deep.
so it's rooted also on colonialism and how
History
the the ones of the conquistadors actually divided us and pitted us against each other.
against each other. And we continue this. We continue this.
Yeah, that's true. Another thing that you pointed out is we didn't really earn our independence. And
Mhm.
because of this, we're always either in passive apathy or active aggression. At saka if you notice also in our movies and a lot of our teleseries, we're always rooting for the underdog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because we were the underdog, but the Spaniards colonized us. But Rizal started the revolution in paper, and Bonifacio also, and the Katipunan. But we didn't really lose against the Spaniards. No, when they were already losing, what the Spaniards did was to sell us to the US for $50 million. That's how cheap we were. And so we thought we had independence, but like in a fight, you didn't really have the catharsis of winning, no? So fake independence, yeah. So and then we so it's we're like a small tree, always dominated by a bigger tree. And if we want to grow, we have to keep pushing. That's why we keep fighting either authority or each other. Either through, ayoko na, hindi na ako susunod. Look at the garbage in the streets. Look at how people violate laws of traffic. No? This is passive aggression. Look at how the tinderas in the market cheat by, doing something with their weighing scale. So this is how we fight. Because anyway, we will lose if we don't do anything, so we might as well fight. And our imported democracy, the presidential system we call Pangulo, right? Pangulo. We have only one national head of state. But this is not our original form of government. We were, the Muslims had their villages, the barangays, and the indigenous people also had their own kingdoms, right? But
Yes.
it was always communal leadership. The elders held the council. The women then had a very strong role in the community. The babaylans were very significant. But this we were imposed this presidential system, and together with that, capitalism and the concept of private property. Before, it was communal ownership. When you had the harvest, everybody ate. So it's really against our nature. That's why we're struggling with it.
So
That's why,
until now, we're still struggling.
yeah. And then we have elections where, as the candidates buy the voters because people are poor. Anyway, sige. So like that, we do not. I think I shared before the psychology of nations. No, it's a national trauma. It's a national collective trauma. That's why we choose leaders who we want to be our saviors. We choose strong men, authoritarian people, because we don't believe we have the capacity to fight for ourselves, to
Because
stand
we've never won a war. Because we've
in
never earned our
all the
independence.
divisions, also all the history of division, and the discrimination from the stories. The stories that our elders told to the generation after generation. At
Yeah.
saka we were not really one nation. We were a nation of nations. Because each tribe was a nation. We, I really wish we can find a way to use this as a gift for our nation. That
That's
we can accept the unique contribution of each group or tribe or nation of people.
I say national collective trauma.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so you're saying we are where we are right now. Like we look for leaders who are strong men,
Mhm.
leaders who we think will save us because we don't believe in ourselves, because we feel also inferior, and also because of the trauma that we haven't really resolved and we've ever really healed. That's why we're
Right.
passive aggressive. Walang pakialam. A lot of us walang pakialam with the basura, with whatever is happening, or we're rebelling. Like
Right.
with our Muslim brothers, talagang you're fighting for the
At
freedom.
saka, we were used to be tribes, so kaya ngayon napaka-regionalistic natin. Then we are forced to follow one national leader. Kaya, you know how we are, no? Regionalistic. The Tagalog have discrimination against the Visayans, Ilocanos, etc., and so forth. But we have to look at the richness of this. Maybe we can find a way back to use the collective power of these different regions and tribes. and they can contribute to being one nation,
Because
which
people
we try to
always,
do in our organization, by the way.
because at Angge, I always hear from people that Philippines is really rich in terms of natural resources. We
Are
have the
we are
best people and all that. But why can we not thrive?
right.
Why are we still poor and all that? And I think you just answered it. Because we haven't healed, and
Mm-hmm.
so we can't be well.
Right, right, right. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And it's just so I'm looking at all of these things. But some people really don't get. So our past, our collective trauma that we haven't really resolved affects all of us until now.
Unless we become aware of it, unless we see the effects of this in our behavior now, because we don't have to be imprisoned in our past. We don't have to be the past doesn't have to be our death sentence. We don't have to condemn ourselves to be exactly like this, and we are doing it now. No, later I will share about the healing steps that we're doing as a nation.
But it's just for me very, very enlightening, especially when you pointed out all of these things. The reason why we feel inferior, the reason why we're a lot of us actually the Tagalogs are passive aggressive.
Yeah.
General what you call this observation.
Mhm.
The Muslims are the ones who are really aggressive and really fighting for their freedom. And then yeah, a lot of people really don't care. And so, how do we heal from this? How do we heal from these divisions, from
Okay.
this feeling inferior, from this collective trauma?
First of all, we really have to be aware of the psychopolitics in our nation, no? This collective trauma and how it affects us. Being called me Indios, we internalize this and we have the colonial mentality, right? You know that. We are like little brown Americans. And because the Americans colonized us using education. So it's still continuing in our educational system until now. And then, as I said, this suppressed rebellion, the fact that we're not able to fight, we have a very low sense of low self-esteem as a nation. We feel inferior, and we don't have a sense of nation. That's why we hide under our clans. Okay, so knowing this, and as I said, this is reflected in the leaders that we choose. How can we heal as a nation? First of all, the psychology of nations also um, speaks about the possibility of healing from this trauma, because there was something that was paralyzed because of this trauma, our sense of inner power, our capacity to do things for ourselves. That's why we look for saviors. But through empowerment or self-help projects, through developing our sense of nation, we can develop compassion to each other and be empowered to heal our nation together. So last Thursday, I talked about the phenomenon of separateness. Now, it's not only in the Philippines. Maybe we can show the picture, Karen.
I'll share the slide.
Thank you.
Sorry. Here. Ayan po.
Okay. Hallelujah for technology, no? This is Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a Buddhist Vietnamese monk who is talking about interbeing. He says that our mission as human beings is to awaken from our illusion of separateness. Separateness or duality means I am separate from you, Karen. We are separate from other people. We are separate from non-Filipinos. We're separate from animals. That's why this develops greed, because we don't realize that we can actually access everything that we need. So we grab. Kasi baka maunahan tayo, we might run out. And we're so afraid of the other person. So this is our first way to heal this separateness. And to awaken to the truth of interbeing. Can we have the next picture? which actually can be found in our Filipino values, in our core value, which is called kapwa. Okay? Hindi ba? Ang pinaka-importante sa Pilipino is yung pakikipagkapwa-tao. If you do not have pakikipagkapwa-tao, you're not a human being. Kapwa means two things. Kapwa malaki, kapwa maganda, the same. Or kapwa-tao means a fellow human being. So this is our sense of shared identity, our sense of shared self, which we lost because we were divided nga. Diba? We were separated. We fought, we were asked to fight each other. So we have actually um, originally, indigenously, the capacity to heal by just going back to our core value of kapwa, which is actually the Filipino concept of interbeing. Like these babies, we really belong to each other. There's no way we can survive without each other. There's no way we can exist without each other. It's not just togetherness, it's not just unity also. It's really kapwa. So, hindi ba, whenever you run out of sugar or salt, you can just knock at your neighbor. Or when you have visitors, you will give the best blanket. You will sleep on the floor so that they can sleep on your best bed. So it's simply the golden rule. You do to others what you want to be done to you. It's very, very inherent in us. Okay, another thing that we can use for healing, we can show the next picture. This is what I learned in my journey of, I tried everything. I was a teacher for many years. I worked in the government. I joined a religious community. So I said I wanted to be a priest. But my first mentor for interbeing, because interbeing has like components. One is solidarity and also inclusivity. Yung solidarity, I think this is easy. We know about this. We tried to work together. During the pandemic, we experienced a lot of solidarity. We are really helping each other. Many people would have died if not for the many NGOs or private people who donated for the poor for food. Now, this is my first mentor. That's in the middle, the one with the blue shirt, with his hands on the lap. Is Father Angel Calvo. He's a Spaniard, actually. And he is a Claretian priest who started in Basilan what is called Calvario Development Project. It's called Calvario because they have the stations of the cross, like in the Calvary. This is significant because Calvario used to be an ordinary community. People were farmers and they were living enough. No, they were sufficient in their needs. But because of the war between the Muslim rebels and the Muslim terrorists, MILF, MNLF, Abu Sayyaf, the community was destroyed. They had to run from their homes, they had to run from their farms, so they could not plant anymore. So Father Cabo started this project, and together with the community leaders, they had a salubong. They were hiking from each side, Muslims and then Christians on the other side, towards the center where the most fertile farms were. So they were able to form again their community there. Living together, it was not easy. There was a lot of tension. And what they did was they gave materials for, like roofing, nails, wood, so that the people can build their houses again. So I came and we had an intercultural team of Bukolanos, Cebuano, Ilocano. The Muslims also were there. One was Samal, one was Tausug, one was Madjao, and me. I was a Christian Tagalog. I helped them develop the program, and it continued. But I had to leave because I got married. So the next picture, you will see the one.
The question. Why
Yes.
does it have? I know that binhi ng Kapayapaan is tri people,
Okay.
and then this group that you're with, it's intercultural. Why is it important for groups to have myriad personalities, different, and why is it important that they're coming from different cultures? Why is representation important?
Because that's how we are as a nation. As I said, we are a nation of nations, no? And it's like a body. Each part has an important part in the whole. And they also have their own ways of living, like the Muslims, diba? That's why they really fought for independence, which luckily we had the peace agreement now in Mindanao. They have their own laws. They had their own set of very complete set of laws and scientific systems. Also, the indigenous people had their own spirituality, but this was run over now by the Spaniards, and the Spaniards forced us to be one. The sense of nationhood, Filipinas, Filipinas, the name Filipinas is, is a tribute to King Philip of Spain, the king at that time. So in our name, we are still bowing to our conqueror. No,
Right. I
and we may ask
actually,
the change
right.
of name actually.
Yes, I've heard of that. There's a group calling for a change of name to Maharlika because that's our original name now.
Uh, I don't know. I also don't like that very much because Maharlika, the original meaning is the royal class.
Yeah.
Ako, ang gusto ko, Perdasil or Perlas ng Dagat Silangan because that's how we were also called. Anyway, whatever, wag na lang King Philip. Anyway, but that is another story because that's difficult. So you were asking why it has to be intercultural. We have to respect and give a voice and give a place for each color of our nation, for each tribe, for each culture, for each religion.
And at Angge, now that you mentioned that, I noticed that our government, hindi a lot of the indigenous people and the Muslims are not represented. A lot of the people in power are Tagalogs.
Definitely. That's why I would like to say that President Duterte won because finally we have a Mindanaoan who will be president.
Yeah.
I will tell that story later. Our Mindanao people in Binhi all voted for him
Yeah.
because they could not believe that somebody from the north will fight for their needs. That's how divided we are.
Very, like you mentioned, very regionalistic.
Right, right. More than regionalistic. We are, you know what the Muslims call us? Imperial Manila.
I heard of that.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to talk about the other picture because that is even intercultural. No, no, the one beside. Because there you have different groups of people. That was my homecoming. In 2017, you will see beside me Dedet. She took over my job. And she's there until now. She was not able to leave. She's still in Basilan, helping with the intercultural development project.
Mhm.
That is the one in black. And the yellow one
This
is
one.
Titi Jalia. She's now the mayor of Basilan. So she invited me and brought me back. This is the site of our project. This is where we had the house with interreligious team. And what was significant, beside her is Yang, another Muslim.
This
What is
one.
significant, I was able to bring my daughter, that's Jing at the back, and her husband. They were newly married, so this was their honeymoon, and our friend from Switzerland. So this is my homecoming was really an intercultural journey. So this
Mm.
is inclusivity in real life.
That's beautiful.
By the
Inclusive.
way, son-in-law is the son of Datovik, the Talaandig chief that I was talking to you about. So in our own family, we have to really acknowledge inclusivity.
It's beautiful. Intercultural and inclusive. Are we going to the next slide at
Yeah,
Angge?
you like. Yeah, this is another mentor of mine, Father Bert. I cannot tell my story without him. Father Bert Laison is an oblate missionary priest in Pikit, Cotabato. I'm sure I would find this very significant because she was also there. Um, Father Bird suffered from the Muslims because his father, his spiritual father, Bishop Ben Jesus, when he was a priest in Hulo, was assassinated by Muslims. So he developed a hatred for Muslims. So he was reassigned to Pikit. However, just a few months after he was assigned to Pikit, there was this all-out war then. So he had to witness people evacuating, including Muslims. So his nature as a priest took the better of him, and from anger it was turned into compassion for the suffering Muslims. And he formed also an intercultural team, an inclusive interreligious dialogue program, which also included relief and rehabilitation for the victims. And he was able to, with the community leaders, to build peace zones in Pikit. During the war, they had to leave their communities and their farms and their schools. So with the peace zones, the people went to both the military and the Muslim rebels to ask them, please do not fight in our communities anymore. If you want to fight, do it somewhere else, in places where people do not live. So they were able to go back and rebuild their communities because of their, it's like a people power, because they work together. So it
That's
was
so beautiful.
beautiful. It's a very beautiful example, the one in Basilan and the one in Pikit, with Father Calvo and Father Bert, of how we as a nation can heal together. We can look at them as models because they were deeply wounded. So
So
much.
at Angge, when we work together as a community, that's when we go back to our sense of power.
Exactly. Yes. Because as I said, our true nature is interbeing. You know, look at the babies. We cannot exist with each other. So we cannot have just one head powerful over everybody. We have to
Mm.
acknowledge the power of everybody because we are like branches, no? If we have a government that's only one person deciding with his party, then we fail to acknowledge the importance of each part. So
Yes.
if we have communal leadership, like the farmers are acknowledged, the fishermen are acknowledged, the urban poor are acknowledged, the students, the women, the men, the children, then we can speak to these representatives in the communal leadership. We can let our needs be known by our
Yes.
leaders.
And which just reminds me why the community pantry of Patrengnon
Exactly.
is very, very successful because she
I,
mobilized the community.
I was actually going to mention that as the best anecdote that I can have for healing the nation. Uh, if you will go to the next picture, there, the right picture, that was the mural that our youth leaders made in the last youth camp in 2013. And it was a very blessed coincidence that they drew this just before, um, ano nga yung, ano sa 2013? Yolanda. Yolanda, no? Typhoon Haiyan internationally. And this for them is the tree of life. And they envision people from different tribes and from different nations protecting the tree of life. Their nation, their world is the tree of life. And for me, this symbol is very similar to our best anecdote now, the community pantry. It is the community acting out of compassion, out of the sense of interbeing. You know, that si Patren realized her suffering was real, but there are other people suffering and she cannot be at peace if she doesn't do anything. And then she relied on the goodwill of people that they will just get, di ba, kumuha ng ayon sa pangangailangan, magbigay ayon sa kakayahan. So this is like this group of people helping sustain this tree of life, meaning for us to survive this pandemic. Imagine, no? That was 2013. We did not know about the pandemic, but now it's becoming real. This interbeing, this sense of kapwa is becoming alive again through the community pantry.
Yeah. Ayi is saying the community acting out of compassion and interbeing.
And
Amen.
out of a sense of uh, an inter necessity. We need it
Yeah.
not only as a romantic spiritual goal, but to survive. That's why
Yes.
they drew the tree of life. The tree would die if it is not protected by everybody.
Yes.
That's why we need to help each other to survive.
And we
Because
have to
if
come
we
together.
have poverty, this poverty will lead to so many problems and we will just be again broken as a nation. By the way, I wanted to ask that actually each of us, as an example in our daily lives, about interbeing and the community pantry. Aren't we all belonging to group chats in Messenger or Viber or WhatsApp or whatever, hindi ba? During the pandemic, we have learned to find refuge in these group chats. Me, through my former students, to my colleagues, to friends, to my family, relatives. And we find solace, and it's through this that we are surviving now. We have Zoom meetings, messenger calls. These group chats are actually uh, communi- um, communities of interbeing that are
Mm.
alive in our daily life. We're learning it. We're learning it out of necessity.
That's true. And this, the ones who made the mural at Angge, Muslim and um
Indigenous, that is Suliman from the Talantig tribe of Datovic, and that is Dang from Unipad. This is a very, very solid Muslim organization in Cotabato. They are, actually, this is a very significant story. This is already now about Binhi ng Kapayapaan. Ano. There is a legend that it is awesome that both the indigenous people and the Muslims have the same legend, that their tribes come from two brothers. And the two brothers were originally both indigenous. But when the Muslim missionaries came, one brother decided to be Muslim. But they made a pact that they will never fight. Unfortunately, this didn't happen. There were some communities that have seen the fighting. The Muslims were stronger and tried to conquer the indigenous, and so on and so forth.
yeah,
But now, the Laantrik tribe are trying to revive this pact. They call it the kinship pact. In Bukidnon, the place of the Talandik tribe, they have their, every March, a festival of kinship, the affirmation of kinship. Because their common symbol is the jar. You will see it also in the picture. It's very small under.
yeah,
So this picture, when they first came, they were not really very friendly to each other. But you will see them here drawing one vision through the music.
yes. Are you saying that the brothers are Mamalu and Tabunaway?
Yes, yes. These are the brothers in the legend that both the Muslims and the indigenous people talk about.
So we really have to retell our stories at the
We have
Angge.
to tell our story. We have to go back to our beautiful story of our inner source of interbeing and our inner source of power as one community. That's the
Yeah,
only time we can really be one nation of nations. I always have to say that. One nation of nations, so that we can get away from the Eastern model of only one nation, one structure. Where, unfortunately, until now, the Christians and the Northern Luzon people dominate.
yeah. Nation of nations. So we're moving to the next slide at the Angge.
Yeah, you were. These are the lessons that we learned from Binhi. Well, one was the uh, um, you were asking me about stories of healing. Can you go back to the first slide? Yeah. Aside from this drawing of murals, there were actual interactions then, which we could say were really moments of healing. Like Yang, you saw her in the slide with my homecoming to Basilan. Um, Yang is a very strong, active Muslim woman leader. And after the first youth camp that she attended, she blurted out in front of the big group, you know, through this youth camp, through Binhi, I now feel I have a voice. I now feel we Muslims have a voice. Because you were saying earlier, unfortunately, in our country till now, they do not have as much voice as the majority, which are the Christian. And remember, they were the original religion of our ancestors, the Muslims. And I'm not saying everybody should be Muslim, but
Yes.
they're just so marginalized. So that's one incident of healing. Another is we had the forgiveness ritual. Um, you know, the Muslims always see themselves as victims, especially when we did not have yet a peace agreement. because they're always discriminated. Do you know that in Manila, when I am with Muslim friends who are wearing veils, when we try to hail a taxi, the taxi will not stop. Or when I try to go to Young's community in Taguig, the Maharlika ata is the name of the community, yes. The Maharlika community in Taguig. The taxis will drop me somewhere. I don't want to enter that. We're so afraid. The Tagalogs in Manila are so afraid of the Muslims. So, when the first youth camp, we brought the Muslims to Manila, you will really see the Christian students from Manila in one side and the Muslims on one side. They were so afraid of each other. But during the forgiveness ritual that we had in Bukidnon, in the monastery, Monastery of Transfiguration, the Benedictine monks, just a minute. I was surprised that
At Angge, Ai saying that her Muslim friends also constantly experience that in Manila. Taxes would not let them ride.
and if
Because
they
nga,
apply for a job, they cannot reveal that they're Muslims, or else probably they will not be accepted. So I know many Muslims who had to write that they were Christians or even change their names. Anyway,
the discrimination
right.
against
So
Muslims.
this led the Muslims to really feel they have no voice, they're victims. But I was surprised during this forgiveness ritual when we encouraged the young people to find out how each of them hurt the other group. Okay? So first, we encourage the Christians to say how they hurt the Muslims, and we had roses that they could use to give to the other side to ask for forgiveness. And it was the turn of the Muslims. We were surprised that they courageously went to the center and took roses and said, "We are sorry because we labeled all Christians to be the same. We also discriminated against you. It was not only you who discriminated against us, we discriminated against you. And we blame you for the sins of our ancestors already dead." Wow, I was really crying. And I had one significant story that's also affecting me until now because I'm here in Europe. Aduna, the sister of my son-in-law, Lowan, also the daughter of Datovic, during that peace camp, when she was telling her story, coincidentally, the bells in the monastery started to ring because it was 6 o'clock. And then she started crying, and we didn't know why. And she was telling the story as if it was not her anymore, but her ancestors. She said, we indigenous tribes, originally we used the drums to call each other, to gather for a meeting or for prayer or for celebration. But when the Muslims came, they introduced the gong. So many of us who became Muslims, we already forgot about the drums. And then the Christians came and introduced the bell. So now we hardly know our indigenous way of talking, which is the drums. And because the bells were ringing, she felt the pain so deeply of how their culture was trampled upon by these missionaries from different religions. And she was really crying so heavily. And then Soliman at the time also spoke, yes. When I was in grade 3, I read in my social studies book that they referred to the Luma, the indigenous people, as pagans. We are not pagans. We believe in God. Our God just does have a different name, which they call Magbabaya. Hindi ba? Anitos are not God. They are just our way to pray. So they were deeply hurt. And then we had a Swiss participant then, Carol, who was a Catholic church worker here in Switzerland. And she was crying when Aduna was telling her story. And she said, she apologized. "I'm so sorry for the deep hurt that my church caused your people." And it was so beautiful. Forgiveness can really heal. You're asking how to heal as a nation. We need to forgive each other because the history is long past. So we can start being one again, forgive the past, and move on as brothers and sisters. And this did not end because I brought Aduna here. Every time we had an international peace camp led by my spiritual community here in Switzerland, I brought some youth leaders. And one time I brought Adina. And we were invited to give a presentation to a Catholic group of church workers in Lucerne, Switzerland. And when we were talking about the Philippines, she started realizing and again crying, you know what? This is very important to me because you are from the church that colonized my people. And look at me now, I'm talking to you, and I experience you accepting me and loving my culture. This is very healing to me. So, this is how we heal, to open ourselves to the pain of the past, but to find opportunities where we can talk to each other and heal. Maybe we can go to the next story already.
That's nice. Talk to each other.
Yeah. Open up ourselves to the pain that we have caused and that we're feeling until now. I mean, this may have been caused by our ancestors. We don't have to be guilty. Guilt is different from sense of responsibility. We don't have to be guilty because it's our sins of our ancestors, but because we are their descendants and we are still living in a community wounded by this history, we have the sense of mutual responsibility to heal together. So, okay, this is again the story of Binhi. This is my apo, Ina, at the right. She was 3 years old. She was 3 years old when this picture was taken. This was the peace camp in Kitapawan, and she was marching there during our peace caravan with Rima, the daughter of Dam, who was in the picture with Soliman. So they enjoyed each other. They don't know about Muslim and Christian. Ina just knows that Rima dresses differently, but they were very good friends. And then in 2015, during after the Mama Sapano massacre, where policemen were killed by Muslims in Mama Sapano, there was the rise of hatred against the Muslims, right? They were blamed, etc., etc. So I was one day watching a TV show where they had a live coverage of the Senate committee interviewing Chairman Iqbal, the chairman of the peace panel of the MILF. We were nearing the drafting and the signing of a peace agreement already, and then the Mama Sapano happened. Anyway, of course, we heard there are some political intentions behind that. Anyway, Ina saw me watching Chairman Iqbal, and Chairman Iqbal was crying because he was asked, why do you have this MILF? Why are you fighting? And he told the story of how the Muslims were, what I've been telling you about the history of colonialism, they losing their land, they being discriminated. And he was crying, and was saying, why is Lolo crying? Well, I said, oh, because he's talking about the suffering of his people, and because now something bad happened in a place in Mindanao, and people are so angry against the Muslims, and they're saying bad things against this Muslim. And then she put her hands on her waist, on her pomelo, and said, oh, that is not good, Nanay. I will talk to these people. I will tell them to stop saying bad things against Muslims. I know they will stop. I know if I will tell them it is not good to say bad things, they will stop. Because the Muslims are my friends, because we are all friends. Very simple. Because we are all friends. Because of Rima. She cannot understand why people will say bad things about the people of Rima, her friend. So Ina, in her very young age, realized interbeing. As I said, we can really learn from our babies. We are really originally, as a human being, very much aware of our being interbeings. But we lose it. We lose it because of the lifestyle that we have now.
This is nice. A 5-year-old understanding kapwa and interbeing.
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Mm. Are we going to the next slide at Angge?
Um, I think you wanted me to talk about why I call myself now a student of compassion,
Yeah,
because this is very relevant to the coming elections. Okay, there is a fight
yeah.
now
That's,
in.
diba, that's your journey at Angge. You mentioned na first you were a counselor, and
Mhm.
then and then you became a peacemaker, and then eventually, and now you call yourself a student of compassion. So it's like a very long journey from one role to another. What's the most important lessons you learned in this journey?
Because I thought I already knew everything about being a peacemaker, but in 2016 during the elections, I was shocked at how Binhi, it was a family, a community that we built, right? It was my baby. We were divided because some people from Mindanao especially voted for President Duterte and some didn't. And I could not understand. He's not a man of peace. He talks about killing. Why would they vote him? And we were talking about peace. So I was in pain. I was really in pain. What happened? But then I realized this is not correct. They have a different view. I'm talking about peace to tolerate the different opinions, but why am I judging that they were wrong? And I also witnessed in Facebook my colleagues fighting against each other, peacemakers, huh? Bashing and families and friends unblocking. So I said, okay, this is too much. So I decided, okay, I will not be a peace advocate anymore. I want to be a student of compassion because compassion means embracing all, even those whom you think are wrong, even those whom you think are doing harm. Until we do that, we are still separating, dividing our community. So I have so much to learn. So I call myself a student of compassion.
So non-judgment, no, at MJ.
Non-judgment and putting it into action. So Jalia, the mayor of Basilan that I showed you, we now talk about peace based on compassion. Justice is important, but sometimes justice takes too long because the perpetrator does not see that there is something wrong. No, that's why we still have victims of martial law still very angry because the Marcoses never admitted that they were wrong. So perhaps compassion will melt this very thick division and anger. That's why we're talking about peace based on compassion. So,
Yeah,
another,
so I was thinking, so if even if people that have wronged us haven't really apologized to us, then ask for forgiveness. With compassion, we can look at things from their perspective and give them mercy instead, even if they didn't ask for forgiveness. Is that correct?
I want to talk about a global dialogue group, which is called One World in Dialogue, which my son Angelo and I also joined. Uh, they're talking about one space, that in America, we have so many. It's a global dialogue group of maybe 100 plus people, and a lot of them come from the West, from Europe or America. During the time of Trump, the Americans were really so angry at each other, right? They could not understand each other. So our facilitators then encouraged us not to talk about our concepts and beliefs, but to just imagine the other person, those who voted for Trump, what is in their hearts? What is it? What is the need that they're trying to fill? And vice versa. So that is what I tried to do. That is why I tried to convince my youth leaders to again talk to each other, to try to see the other side. That's compassion. Where are you coming from? So that you don't say you are wrong.
Like
Okay.
you said. And I is echoing your message. It's perhaps compassion will melt the very thick division and
Oh, we
anger.
have we have so much to heal. I'm telling you, we have so much to heal. And to be honest, in this pandemic, with so many people dying and hungry, sometimes I lose hope. So you can go to the next slide. This is my source of hope.
Yeah. The wait lang po. Let me do that. And while we're fixing,
Ah,
Annie is saying something. There is a similar initiative now that has started this year. They are conducting generative conversations and dialogue
oh,
among people who are pro and anti-admin.
oh, I would like to join this dialogue. Please tell me how. That's
Mm-mm.
wonderful to know that.
That there's such a so it's really sharing stories, discussion, and dialogues at Angge, no, that can help us with our healing.
Bringing the theories of healing, of trauma, and everything to your life. You bring it to your life so that you can heal what's inside you. Okay, these are my two angels. These are my youngest apos. That's Punina, Pulikay at the left. Her name is Pulikay Malinandang. That means bridge of peace. It's actually because she is the daughter of my daughter Jean and daughter of Lowan, who is the son of Datovic and Bailisa. So she is the granddaughter of Peacemaker. So she is the bridge wherein peace work could continue. And she's offering this flower to us as a product, a real product of interbeing. It's no joke. You have to talk to my daughter Jean how to live as a Tagalog Christian in a community of Talanding. It's no joke to try to live together and put the different cultures together. But of course, for Pulikay, she has no problem. She's the product of both cultures. So uh, my biggest mission at the moment, my biggest calling, my most important calling is to be a grandmother, to be a Lola. So I really accompany these little angels of mine that they will really not lose their sense of interbeing. And the last one, that's Payapa. Uh, their name is Maria Laya Payapa. She's the daughter of my youngest son, Pepe, who also had Creating Peace segment. And look at how happy she is.
Mm.
Unbelievable, di ba? She's actually a pandemic baby. She was born in June 2020. And it was very challenging because, it was very difficult in hospital. So it was only her mother, Sam, was able to be in the delivery room. Pepe was there but could not enter the labor room. So we were all just watching in our rooms. I was here, and through Messenger, we were connecting with her obstetrician, who happened to be my niece. So she belonged to a group chat of us. So thank God for the group chat. So she's giving us an update, how many centimeters, because we were all waiting and, of course, hoping that she's safe because she's in a hospital. The moment she was born, I heard the chant, the big bell of the community of Signatam in France. This big bell that is rung whenever they have a retreat. I thought I heard the bell, and true enough, my niece Krista posted a video of the baby, Payapa. She was already born. So for me, this baby, as any other baby that was born in this pandemic time, is a sign of hope.
Mhm.
And she's so happy. She's just so happy. And I really try to be with her, to encourage her, to sustain this happy energy. Be with me. Be with me in sustaining our payapas. She's called by Pepe as Pototom. That's her funny nickname. That she will always be happy, our children to remain happy because they have each other.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
nice. To be happy because we have each other.
Because we have each other, because we belong to each other. We will never run out of anything that we need if we always remember that we have each other.
I love that. That we will never run out of anything,
Like the
especially.
community pantry. Community pantry, if I see Patreng, the moment we're allowed to go back to the Philippines and to hug, I will really hug her maybe for 1 hour. She's so simple. And she really embodies the simple, loving nature of us Filipinos, of us human beings. Walang keme,
Yes,
like Pototom.
that's true. Yes, we belong, like you said, we belong to each other. And yeah. And that gives us hope, no, Ate Ange,
So much.
knowing
Yeah, I hope people will attend my next uh, community class this Thursday because it's called, there I will talk about active hope. Not
yes,
hope that is in the future, but hope that is here now. These two babies are here now,
that's
and they are our hope.
that's true. On that note, at Angge, we usually end the conversation with a reflection or a meditation.
Mhm.
And I know you're going to sing for us, or you're going to read your song.
Would you like to have the meditation first, or the song, or song na
The
lang?
song can, because the song can be the meditation if you like,
Okay,
or we can take a break so you have time to rest. Let's take a 1 minute break
okay,
and then
okay. We have
we'll come back.
1 minute.
Just stay there at Ange. I'll just play a video, and when we come back, at Ange will share with you a song she composed. Just let me. So that we can just help people stay calm and spread calm at this time. And if we can just really lighten the load of everybody, and lalo na with the social distancing that's being done, we kind of feel alone. Even now, we're still on lockdown. And I just want people to know that, guys, you're not alone. Kaya natin to. Together, we can do this. That's why we have programs every Tuesday, every Thursday. There's a class or a workshop which is free to the community so everybody can come together.
Here are our programs on personal growth and healing for you.
Okay, so we're back. We're back with at Angge Pacifico. We're talking about crossing borders and healing divisions. And it's we've been talking for an hour already. So at Angge will close the conversation with a song she composed.
Okay. I composed this after a class that I had with my community who are Swiss and Germans. And they were one of those also who taught me about interbeing, especially about our sacred calling to take care of our Mother Earth. Do you hear me well?
Yes, at Angge, we can hear you po.
I am not a singer like my son Pepe, huh? So I usually only sing in the bathroom, but some songs flow through me and the words, the lyrics, and the melody flow out at the same time. So here goes. Why do people burn the air that shields and gives us life? Why do people kill the forest where creatures make their home? Why do birds have to lose their homes? Why do children have to cry? Why do people block the flow of rivers and of seas? Why do people stop the earth from breathing and growing? When can people start to see how they cause each other pain? When can people start to feel the earth choking in despair? I have a wish burning inside me. I want to burst and shout out loud. I want to say to all humanity, there is a way if we stop asking why and start finding how. How can I begin to go deeper in myself? How can I be more open to allow the pain to flow? How can I be free from fear? How do I commit myself? How can I see myself as one with the healing of the earth? How do I learn to love people who are different? How do I use my power to transform the universe? How do I live my calling as a truly special star? It is time to stop searching. It is time to start living. It is time to start loving, and I will do it now. Ooh, now. May I suggest for some moments of silence, if we can just close our eyes and let the words sink in our hearts and our souls. Thank you for that, Karen. I was
That's
also
beautiful.
while singing that.
It's so beautiful, Ate Angge.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
yeah, and that's right. You know what? That's what's happening right now. Eh. A lot of people are asking why. Why
Mm.
is this happening? Why now? Why until now we're still on lockdown? But you're right. Eh. I think we should ask how. How? That's a question.
And it is time to start loving.
Right. And that's the answer, no? If we can take care of each other and love each other, that's really how we move forward. And at this point, we'd really like to invite everybody this Thursday. At Angge will talk about moving forward with compassion and active hope. So beyond Corona. Prior to this interview, we're talking na At Angge was saying, people are naiinis na, naiirita na, people are asked, they have a lot of questions, and it's been a long time that we're on lockdown. And she's saying, it's time to move. There's a way for us to move forward, and that the moving forward is really through compassion and active hope. And there's going to be a workshop, and she'll tell us more about it this Thursday. So you can go to our event page, so you can join this class. This is a community class, so you can join this one for free. Beyond Corona, moving forward with compassion and active hope.
Maybe you can read also the quote about the bridge.
Yeah. Humankind has reached a bridge that can only be crossed in unity.
The way
That's
forward is through interbeing, through unity.
so at Angge, what I'm getting from this conversation is that the way for us to heal as a nation is really go back to our nature. And that nature of kapwa, of the other being the same as me. Na I'm not separate from you. We are one and the same, so I can sense your suffering, and because you suffer, I suffer as well. And the way to do that is, so I have to extend my hand. So because when I stop your suffering, I stop mine also. We're not different.
We're all suffering. That's our common humanity now. We have a shared pain, but we also have a shared longing and a shared capacity to be happy and to heal.
Yeah. And I love how how you explain pain to us. That you said, allow, even in your song, you're saying allow the pain to flow.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging the pain.
You know, that's one thing we have as an advantage. I will tell you a secret. The Western Europeans, specifically the Swiss, they're very afraid of pain because everything here is perfect, right? So you talk about pain, they would rather not hear about it. But we Filipinos, we like telenovelas. We like teledramas, teleseries, unending, ang probinsyano. It's not good to just dwell in the pain, but we also have the capacity to feel, so we can use that. That's why I'm here. I'm here because I like to listen to people that are not listened to, because I can stand pain. I know what it means, right? We have pain all the time in our daily lives, and people have to see this, that we are all in pain and we can heal together. Because the moment we push away our pain, we're pushing a part of ourselves again. That's separateness. Again, we're not whole.
We are all in pain.
But we're all also have power, the capacity to heal.
It's so beautiful. At Angge, what's your final words for everybody watching and listening to close this session on crossing borders and healing division?
My final word is first to thank you and Ayi to fund this online healing community. Really, you are amazing. I don't know how the two of you do it 3 times a week. You are an example of our amazing power to heal and help others heal. And my final word to everybody, I love you. I wish I could meet you someday. You all nourish me. Even if I don't see you, you all nourish me by just being there. Just like when our baby Payapa, even with our not seeing her, we witnessed and we experienced the joy of her being born. So I share with you all our common pains and our common joys. We will survive. I'm sure
Aw.
we will survive. We will be better. We will heal. We will become a better nation, a better world.
Thank you for the affirmation at Angge. And I would like to acknowledge you. You mentioned earlier that you want to be a priest and you're a young child and you want to be a saint. But basically it's coming from kapwa, this feeling of feeling the suffering of Christ and feeling the suffering of the children. And that's why you extend yourself so much to
Yeah.
help.
Mm-hmm.
And really thank you for your words of wisdom. Like we always I always find it very refreshing when I talk to you because it's you're coming from a very rich experience. And know that everything that you've shared with us, especially the thing about being intercultural, being very inclusive, are the things that will always remember and something that will strive to work for towards. Because right now it's really just me and I working on online link community, but would really love to follow your footsteps and
Oh,
make it intercultural really. So all the voices will be heard.
mm-hmm. We are all following each other's footsteps. We're all teachers to each other. Maybe
Mm-mm.
just, how do you call that? Ilang paligo, just how many bats a bit ahead of you. But we are really helping and teaching each other. For some reason, that is how we survive. That is how we exist. We help each other, we teach each other. Thank you so much. It's a very big opportunity to be with you, to be in this room. Look at the screen, Karen. I find it very interesting. Look at how the architectural symmetry, our two screens bind together. Parang, I don't know how you see it, like the corner of my wall is parang we are in one box,
Yes,
actually.
yes, yes.
This is really amazing. We really belong to each other. Even
Yeah.
Zoom knows that.
Yeah, we belong to each other. And Aisin, you are such an inspiration at Angge. Thank you so much for the work that you do. And really, I and I were saying we're standing on the shoulders of giants because a lot of you did your work early on, and so we're able to do our work, our work right now. And it's easy with all the help. Like basically it's just me and I here, but you're always there to support, and there's so many people like you said giving their time
Mhm.
freely for the community, and then that makes the work a lot easier. And manggagawang PWD is saying mapayapang hapon po mga kapatid. Maraming salamat sa pagtuturo sa amin.
I bow
Lirun,
to, I bow to you, kapatid. Maraming salamat din. Salamat sa oras at presensya.
oo
Salamat
nga.
June Hebrew. Wow.
Yes, and June Hebrew is saying psychology of nation hooked to national trauma. Thank you for explaining that to us.
And leading to national healing
Mm-mm.
at the
But we
end.
ended with healing. Eh. Even if, yes, we've been traumatized, a lot of things happened to us, but we can heal together and we can heal as a nation. Maraming salamat at Angge.
Namaste.
Namaste. That's nice. Yeah, and love. Oh, and hopefully, please join at the Angge's session. We'll just want to remind everybody it's on the event page, and you can you it's on the comments. I posted that. You can look at our event page and you can join the session this Thursday beyond Corona. It's really moving forward towards with active hope and compassion. And at end, guys is going to do a workshop with us this Thursday. So hopefully everybody will be there. And please note that that's going to be 8 o'clock to 9:30 p.m. So that's
The,
it. We've overextended already. At Angge has to eat lunch pa.
the corona pandemic is our biggest challenge, but also our biggest opportunity. So please join us to look at this opportunity. Okay, as I said, I love you all.
Maraming salamat ulit at Angge. And yeah, and thank you everyone for joining us. Bye. See you soon. Bye po.